What's up, y'all, and welcome back to The Dose, where we are here to help leaders pivot into their next. My name is Alex Seal, and I've enjoyed 20 years with the world's most caring company, and I want to take leadership concepts and bring them to you in a digestible manner that will help you get into the next season of your leadership. Let's grow.
What's up and what's happening, TPE family? We're back with another episode of The Dose, where our aim and goal is to help leaders get better each and every week. We provide fresh content every Wednesday in this regard, and today's topic is going to be one that I'm sure that you all have heard before, that you all talked about, read about, listened to podcasts, and just consume content over it, and that's effective communication. Check this out. Did you know that on average, it takes the average person has to hear you 7 times before they actually hear you? So you can say something to somebody one time, it might go in one ear and out the other. You say it the second time, the third time, up until that 7th time, they really start to understand what it is that you're saying. So I want to canvas 3 things that's going to help you become a better communicator, that's going to help you communicate more effectively, and there's some tools to add to your leadership toolkit, your toolbox, to be able to make you more of an effective leader. So number one is going to be mastering verbal and non-verbal communication. Mastering verbal and non-verbal communication. Communication happens both audibly and it happens with the things that people aren't saying. So you have to be able to, as a leader, figure out how to maximize your ability to, number one, communicate and express yourself, and then also to read an individual's nonverbal cues and nonverbal things that they're doing to communicate. So clarity and consciousness in being able to express what you want to talk about is important in mastering the verbal communication element of this. Expressing ideas clearly and avoiding unnecessary jargon to ensure understanding. I know I am guilty of this. I can get a little wordy. Sometimes the best way to communicate what you want to communicate is to be as concise and precise as possible in delivering the message. Now, of course, you don't want to come across as cold or uncaring, but you have to be able to be specific about what it is that you wanted to accomplish in the conversation, and being able to articulate those things. A lot of times that'll help you. Well, what will help you in a conversation, whether that's being a coaching conversation with another team member or just expressing some key points, is to kind of go through the conversation a little bit in your head, making sure that you have the key points identified, so you don't miss the opportunity to deliver that message to that person. And again, you can have to do this in multiple ways, because again, like we said at the top of this conversation, it takes 7 times for a person to hear you. Next component of mastering verbal and non-verbal communication is body language awareness. This is one of the things that I really lean into as a leader as it relates to being an effective communicator. When I'm talking to someone, I'm looking at what their facial expressions are doing, what their body is doing. Are they sitting up? Are they slouched over? Are they engaged or unengaged? And you can measure that by looking at a person's body language. You can measure whether they're interested or whether they are offended, whether they understand what you're saying. Everything, most of the time, people express themselves without saying a word, just by looking at that body language. Also, when you're thinking about just continuing to master the verbal piece, you got to be able to control your tone and pace. You have to understand the subject matter in which you're talking about, and that would kind of dictate what your tone is. If you're delivering feedback to an individual that could come across as negative, I would probably avoid sounding excited, because it can give off the idea that you're excited to get this person in trouble, or you're excited to deliver this feedback that could be negative or viewed negatively. So you have to understand the gravity of the situation. Understand in understanding the gravity of the situation, you have the opportunity to monitor your tone, and then also just the pace in which you deliver the conversation as well. As you can tell, probably I talk a little fast, and I have to remember that there will be some times where might need to slow down my delivery in order for my message not to get lost in the pace in which I'm speaking. So tone and pace are important as well. Next component in being an effective communicator is giving and receiving constructive criticism. When you're providing feedback or criticism, to somebody who is on your team, you want to make sure that you're specific and you are able to provide examples of what it is that you're talking about. I see oftentimes leaders get in conversations and they want to reprimand or try to hold someone accountable for something without having the literal reasons why that they're providing the feedback or the criticism. And so as a leader, it is important for you to be able to gather, number one, what the issue might be, or the behavior that team member could be exhibiting that's not that doesn't isn't parallel to what your expectations are, but then also too just making sure that you can use stories and examples to be able to connect the team member to what the message is. One of the things that would accelerate that seven times curve, that the seven times having to say something, is if you can match a story or match something that team member can identify with, that will help them understand the necessity for them to change or to grow in the area in which you're providing feedback. Positive framing, when you're providing, you're giving this feedback and receiving the feedback, making sure that you're creating some type of light at the end of the tunnel, some type of walk away or takeaway where the team member feels good about what they're doing and they just don't feel like they just got beat up over the course of the conversation. So that's very important. And openness to feedback. A lot of times as a leader, particularly when we find ourselves doing one-on-ones, most of the time we find ourselves doing a lot of the talking. But you have to create a avenue for the team member that you're talking to be able to provide you feedback, whether it's about you individually or the organization. I think this creates more trust, this deepens relationships, and it really makes your team members feel like they're a part of what's going on, and it just helps you execute in communication a lot better. When people feel like they can have a two-way conversation with you, and you're not just lording over them with your perspective on what they're doing or not doing, it gives, like I said, it gives your team members, it makes them feel like they are a part of what's going on in your organization. It makes them feel like they have a voice to be able to speak up on matters that may bother them or they might feel as challenging. But on the flip side of that too, when you create this openness, it allows ideas to flow in the organization. There's going to be pain points in your restaurant or in your store that you may not realize, but the team member is experiencing each and every day. And so when you create this mechanism where you have open dialogue, you create this culture and you foster this environment that people feel comfortable talking, you might be able to find solutions and solve problems faster because the people who have direct contact with your customers, who are on the front lines, who may be experiencing a pain point, can tell you readily when something's happening and then maybe offer solution to what the problem is. So I think that's very important as well. And the last component of effective communication is going to be practicing active listening and asking powerful questions. And that's practice active listening and asking powerful questions. When you're talking to somebody, you have to do your very best. Now, I get it. You're a director of operations. You might be a general manager. You might be a director of food safety and maintenance, and your day is go, 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 go. However, when you're speaking to someone on your team, you want to try to do your very best to give them your undivided attention. Again, this is something that I'm guilty of. I'm checking my watch, checking my phone, looking at email, just based on the gravity of what my responsibility is to our organization. However, those things, when you prioritize checking those things and not giving the person in front of you your undivided attention, it makes them feel like what they have to say isn't important. It makes them feel like maybe the things that you're talking to them about isn't as important because you're not giving them that undivided attention. You're not giving them the level of respect that you might require from them. And so they'll receive that negatively. They'll receive your feedback negatively. You won't maximize what you're trying to achieve by providing the feedback or the conversation. So do your best to try to give that undivided attention. I think that's very important in the context of being an effective communicator. Also, just reflective listening. I think a lot of times when we're in conversations, particularly one-on-ones or just evaluations, we're giving our opinion on what a person may be doing, and then when they start to respond, sometimes we automatically may have a response built in or an answer built in, or we want to lead them in a conversation. A lot of times we have to give our teams the opportunity to be able to express themselves, and then for us to really digest what they're saying. They're when you're talking to an individual team member, their comments and sentiments could be a reflection of the team as a whole, or at least larger portions of the team besides that one individual. So I think it's important for you to consider and really take a moment to reflect on the things that they're saying and give thoughtful responses to your team, so they can have a better sense that you understand what they're trying to say, and then you care about what they're trying to say, and you're going to try to do your best to provide some level of solution or resolve to the issues that they're bringing to your attention. Also, just asking effective questions. Ask open-ended questions to allow your team to think about how, just think about how the operation is running. Think about opportunities or challenges that exist in the organization, and try to do your best not to lead them to a question or a answer. I think when we ask effective questions, we gain a lot of learning, we gain a lot of perspective, and we get a lot of foresight into the direction of our culture in our organizations. And so those are the three things that I feel like, if you're going to be an effective communicator, if you're going to be able to create a culture that thrives and provides feedback and criticism in the effort to try to make things better and make people better, if you're going to really push reaching the results in your organization, these three things: mastering verbal and nonverbal communication, giving and receiving constructive feedback, and practice active listening and asking powerful questions. Those three items will help you get over the hump as it relates to an environment that has poor communication, and you'll really start to see your organization thrive and reach the goals that you have set forth. And so thank you guys so much for tuning into The Dose. If you guys want to connect with us, connect with myself or any of the persons on my team, please head over to www.tpenow.com and let's set up a free discovery call. 30 minutes, we can figure out what your leadership goals are and how can we help you. We offer monthly coaching plans that involve 2 meetings a month, and we really are seeing some great results for the people that we're currently coaching, and we would love to have an opportunity to be able to help you pivot into your next. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you want to connect with us, go over to www.tpenow.com, and until next time, TPE family, peace.
What's up, guys? Here at the TPE, we're much more than your ordinary coaching brand. We're a team of coaches that have boots on the ground, who have real world experience in the area of running big business. And so let's get connected. Head over to tpenow.com and see how we can help you and your leaders pivot into the next.